Namaste Galactic family, and welcome back to my channel Indigo Angel. Welcome if you're new, and if you're returning, don't forget to hit the notifications bell, and thank you for your continued love and support of my channel. Also, don't forget to like this video as you come on in. And today, welcome, we are going to do some June Starseed origin readings. We're going to start with the Pegasus Starseed, the Pegasi radial encryption, as I like to call it, as it activates on the planetary grid celestial templates, the grids, which are the boards that the radial networks infuse into for, physical reality manifestation and all of these things. Pegasus is considered an occult star nation, meaning that they're not necessarily considered a founder nation in terms of humanity's galactic angelic ascendancy and some of the systems that are already in place in terms of cosmic human history. But essentially, I like to advise everyone to just really keep an open mind when it comes to perception and when it comes to human cosmic history and races that are involved in the founder lineages, what is perceived as the highest light of identity expression within the celestial bodies. And so therefore, I just really, keep an open mind when it comes to a lot of this stuff, because this is constantly changing. And we have to remember that too. This is constantly unfolding, the revelation and the deeper mythology and the deeper meanings that these star nations are ever encrypted in through our astrological alignments and things of that nature. So, but essentially the Pegasus Starseed, they come through the occult mythologies. So it's the deeper meanings of things that you really have to look to identify Pegasi within the totality of everything in terms of the interconnectedness of how the unicorn and the horse extenuates throughout time, in history, and through magic, and through the higher dimensions, and through revelations. So the unicorns are really tied into the astral field. They usually come through one's consciousness expansion through the causal chakra, right? Because they actually exist in a more mythical space, in a more magical space, which would be outside of physical perception. So that is why it comes through the angelic kingdom. It comes through the causal chakra opening and also third eye opening as well. But that's in true with all of your refraction to your celestial identity. And when I say refraction, I mean the journey of going towards source truth. And so that's ultimately the way that it pulls. It pulls you in a refraction. As you go deeper within, you get closer and closer to that source of information, the source of the identity, the source of the actual smallest unit of consciousness and expansion of consciousness from that first initiation of that template within. So it's really quantified perception to have any galactic perception whatsoever, or any, just coming into anything cosmic, anything galactic is the most quantified spectrum within, essentially. So what I'm trying to get into today is this Pegasi reading. Pegasus, you are the family of the winged horse, which I know can seem a little off-putting to say, that you're the unicorn family, right? It seems kind of fairy tale-like, or a little feminine, or a little foo-foo-y. But really, this is just one fraction of what this nation represents. This nation represents so much. It's really enlightening when you really start to dig into everything that it means. Yes, on this, it's a full spectrum nation. It's a full spectrum origin in terms of the duality and the polarity that plays out within it. So it does typically express and manifest itself within this far astral, this far right, all the way to a far left. And just the totality of the spectrum and the ways that you can see, because it does get into magic and bliss, and then equally into war traumas. And when I say magic and bliss, it's bordering the rights of freedom, because Pegasus believes in the rights of freedom. Pegasus believes in being its highest expression, it's very, very connected to I want to say the Melchizedek grail line, the Melchizedek entity. I always feel that high passion come through when I think of the Pegasus encryption, in the terms that it's like that Christed energy, but with this tint of uncontrollableness, like it's borderline, like just complete magic God expression at its highest. But also that can make it perceivably dangerous to some. And so therein lies some deeper things and some deeper meanings within the unicorn's history and their memories. And so I'm going to kind of get into some of those things. This star nation is definitely the backbone of the horse mythology, which therein supports the centaurs. It's also supportive of the old military, so not necessarily in millennial times, but in the time when horses were used for war. So horses very much assisted old militia. I don't want to say a little bit. Police officers use horses a little bit now, so they are relative within that still, that horses seem to stand on a side of law or a side of justice. They don't seem to stand with any particular race, as they are seen more as like a tool that humans could have used for battle and for war. And so they don't choose sides, but Pegasus will usually stand on the side of justice. They will typically stand during times of civil unrest. They will be very loyal to the end. So whatever side they stand on, they are very, very loyal. They like to be on the sides of the underdogs, but their main cause is to fight for freedom. Always. That's always been Pegasus' main concern. And so when the passions and the throes of passions within the civil unrest, and the throes of passion within the fight of the king wars that we're in right now, with these king lines at battle, essentially they're gonna present during these heightened times of passion, because of the memory records that are held within this star. I mean, Pegasus literally holds the war library of memories within this encryption, because of where they've been placed throughout history, what they've meant. Their seeding begun, we want to say, as early as 12,000 BCE, but this was probably when human consciousness started to attune to this living identity. It's where this cellular memory of this time became conscious, was at the forefront of the transition from hunter-gatherer to cultivating like a Neolithic village. So this nation, this race lineage, this soul collective, this radial encryption lineage solidified itself as the human race really began its obsession with the horse. And so this is where it really infused into the grid. So just accessing this star encryption, you're gonna get so many downloads as to revelations in war, strategies, tactics, the battles, the pain, the scars, the death, the rebirth, leaderships. All of this is kind of coming through. You're definitely, I want to confirm, you're definitely kin to the Centaurian starseed family. Just similarly to how Raven starseeds and Hydra starseeds kind of go hand in hand. They are one within this same expression in terms of their mission and what they came to do here as a star nation. Pegasus is very much the kin to the Centaurian starseed family soul collective, and also specific certain grail lines within that soul collective, because believe it or not, there's more grails that extenuate from one soul collective. And so and that means that you can be kin to certain nations on an over soul level or a soul collective level, even on like a twin union level, things like that. And still not be of the same maybe grail expression, because your grail went a different direction or something, and something like that. So there's a couple different grails that do extenuate from this radial soul collective, as the Pegasus have seeded many different family crest and grail lines. So we'll kind of get into that. One of them that I was picking up on was the Rose line or the Roslin line. And this is extenuating from Scotland. So I'm going to get deeper into this just a little bit, but also Ireland and then also Africa. These roots are deep here. Okay. All the way back to Africa. You're always just going to be, because you are the Horus expression, you're always just going to be intricately tied to the manifest destiny of the centaurs in some way. And so you're going to want to keep an eye out as a Pegasus Starseed. You're going to want to keep an eye on what the Centaurians are up to, because essentially it is going to show you what you're in line with as well. Also, Andromedans. This is a highly important star system to Pegasi Starseeds, as Pegasus is halfway into Andromeda, almost as if Pegasus is escaping Andromeda or trying to fight for freedom from Andromeda, or even protecting Andromeda. As the mythology of Andromeda is that she is this princess chained in space. So Andromeda itself is like the epitome of chains and freedom. Andromedan starseeds their mission on Earth is to come and to be like revolutionary keepers. They come to create the revolutions. So there's a lot of that coming up with the Trinity gates being plugged into the Mother Arc gates, being plugged into Andromeda. Now we're feeling Pegasus encryption. We're also seeing the rise of the centaurs. So it's all very intricately interrelated. Every trigger, every sting, every subatomic field that sets its probability in motion of acceleration is therefore connected to the next manifest destiny, connected to the next. And these are a group of harmonizations in terms of radial templates that are activating on the Earth, is that these star nations do infuse to create manifest destiny. And so these are the ones that we're going to see. Pegasus, you are basically like a transmitter between the shackles and chains and freedoms of Andromeda, and then the war and the fighting parts of the symbology of the centaurs, and you are in between that expression. And so you can be considered a very supportive role in terms of your expression and what you came to do here, and your perceptions of consciousness. Everything that you perceive as a Pegasus Starseed is transmuting, clearing. It's doing things for the collective constantly, even the smallest parts of your awareness, things that you think like only you hear in your mind. Just that perception alone is, a trigger within that star system's reaction response. And so it's kind of like it's all interconnected. And especially with Pegasus is highly telepathic, highly psychic, highly intuitive. There's a lot of transmissions that are going on here. And there's just a lot of knowledge and wisdom that's being passed on to humanity through this star nation as well. So right now, we are aligned. Our north node. So right now our north node is aligned directly at Alpha Centauri, towards the galactic center in what is called the Gate of God. So the gate concept is going to be coming up a lot lately. I've talked about these gates, because we are aligned to that Gate of God right now. And Alpha Centauri Starseeds is going through major collective awakening fields. If there is any soul collective right now that's just being blasted with, just an accelerative collective wave that's rolling through, where people are just legitimately waking up, and they're waking up through the fire. They're waking up from the phoenix rising from the ashes type stuff. And so this is huge. This is it's like thunder rolling through Centaurus. It's like, and so Pegasus are getting really hyped up on that transmission. There's this like cloud of anticipation, this cloud of hope and glory, and there's a lot of positive energy that's coming through. There's also a lot of strength coming through right now. So this is really where Pegasus are at. They're holding a fundamental strength for the collective unified fields right now, similarly to like a glue, kind of keeping things together. We also have Saturn within the markers of Pegasus as well. Saturn and Jupiter are both in retrograde the entire month of June. And so with Saturn being aligned to Pegasi right now, it's very almost as if the lessons that are being learned collectively right now are coming from Pegasi. So whatever lessons you, Pegasi, might be experiencing right now are very much mirroring what the collective is going through. And so you're kind of the initiators or prompters to what specific collective fields need to be learning. And so it's almost like you're a little bit ahead of the curve and you've kind of beat the curve. So you're the one that's like, you know, surfing at the top of the wave, and others are kind of looking at you to see your technique and skill, like how are you doing it? And so you're being watched a lot right now. You might even be being idolized. I don't want to say worshipped, but I mean you're being a mentor to others in some ways, in a lot of ways. And so there is definitely awareness that you do take a lot of responsibility in that, and you definitely want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward. So there's a lot that the horse encryption rises up to, and they usually meet challenges. So they're not like, this isn't like the wimpy soul crew. They rise to challenges here. So now Pegasus has actually been showing up in big ways the last couple days. That I recently did a reading on a girl who had 5 placements of Pegasi, and then I actually connected with the Enchanted Frequency Fairy, Kimberly Jane Smith. She's a Pegasus Starseed, and she ended up having a very extensive grail extension to Queen Mary of Scots. And so I just wanted to bring this up because whenever certain star encryptions really start making its way into my reality, I have to stop and take note of it and kind of listen to what it's saying. And I wanted to explain this Akashic record within the Pegasus collective. I want to explain that Scotland is a major Akashic record for Pegasus incarnates. And I say collective Akashic record, it means that everyone who carries this Stargate nation in their chart may feel a call to this planetary location, either as a past life or as just a memory within the DNA, a memory within the grail. And it's generated from that radial plasma. This will invoke these memories of these human experiences and these human timelines inside. So this is what the Akashic record represents. And so for Pegasus, this is a lot of Scotland memory. And so I've been getting deeper into this, and it's because, for one, the unicorn is the Scotland's national animal. Similarly to how Dallas, Texas is also another Stargate site for Pegasus as well. I did do a video on this recently. It was a Pegasus update. I went into this Stargate location. I'll leave a link at the top for this video. But essentially, Dallas adopted the winged horse all over the city. And this is another thing, is I've been tuning into the fact that Pegasus brought flight technology. And so this was information that was gifted from this star nation's intelligence. They brought flight technology to humanity. And this is why you'll see horses and stuff at the Denver International Airport. We have a giant horse out front of our airport. So aviation, Pegasus had a huge contribution in aviation. So it's one reason why we do see it in Dallas, Texas. But this is Scotland's national animal. And so it's becoming relevant because the royal coat of arms is missing from the Buckingham Palace gates, as I just put in my last energy update, after apparently the unicorn became damaged on this crest. So whether they're repairing it or preparing it for a new king right? Because as we go through pole shift, things are positives or negatives, negatives or positives. Either way, it's like a tip-off to a deeper meaning, right? So if you look at the symbolism on the gates and on the UK passport, you will see the unicorn is in chains. So why is that unicorn in chains? Now, this is all symbolic to current events as we merge into these time waves. We're merging with so many different time waves at one time. We're revisiting a lot of history, a lot of past from Scotland, also from Babylon. There's a lot of truth of the true origins of Jerusalem that seems to be emerging, that these things have to come up from the soul, and they have to be relinquished into the collective mind because they're building up, right? They're building all of this tension and this pressure if these things are not lifted. So the unicorn being chained, the symbolism is at the heart and at the root of race degradation and race supremacy, as it's literally represented Scotland being chained to the UK, 1.6 billion people chained to the UK. Okay, because now you would think, why would the UK want to chain Scotland, right? Well, we chain things and we lock up things when we want to control them, when we want to keep something suppressed, when we want to keep something hidden, when we also don't want to lose something, we would chain something up, right? There is a fear of something being taken away. And so now it gets you kind of looking at the history of Scotland and why this would be on the UK crest in this way. And it is because, honestly, that the countries have been stealing the origin of the true Jerusalem, of the Bible, all of these things from Scotland. And so Scotland is the pre-ancient historic Jerusalem. And so this is all becoming relevant. This is all becoming important, that it might just simply be fraudulent that the queen of the UK is the queen. So there's fraudulency in the monarchy, and this is what these chains are representing. There is stuff that they want to keep suppressed. There's freedom that they don't want people. There's things that they don't want people to know about. There's things that they want to keep control of. There's things that they're afraid of losing. And so locking up the unicorn is representing all of that. It's also representing racism, and anything to do with chains represents slavery and racism. Okay, so this is really coming up clearly with the George Floyd riots. Like, that is the physical manifestation of all of this suffocation within the grail lines, all of this suffocation within the truth of the unicorns being chained. These hidden chains have to do with the 12 tribes of Israel being all inside the boundaries and borders of Scotland, where the real city of Jerusalem and Hebrew Israelite kingdoms were located in Scotland, the real prehistoric biblical city of Jerusalem. And so it gets really, really in depth, guys. I do want to get into this reading, as I feel it would be good to just do a starseed origin reading to see where overall energies are for the individual Pegasus experience. Also, the location of the seat of Arthur is in Mount Olives, the real Knights Templar and Holy Grail quest, where the Rose Line King and Queens came from. And all of this is emanating out of the Pegasus Starseed right now. All of this is collectively manifesting for deeper truth to see within its grail. Okay, guys, so Pegasus, you might be feeling like you're preparing for something. You may be feeling like you're on this deep quest for truth and exposing cracks and broken systems. You might feel like you're relieving yourself and others from slavery and from racism, and you're releasing your chains, you're releasing your shackles. You may feel like it's your duty to defend and protect at this time. You may be viewing global and planetary affairs also from very highly expanded and evolved perspectives, seeing the limitations of the nations and the borders that they have put up. So you've been very globally minded through all of these current events. And you may also be feeling like traveling right now, but you've been questioning if you should fly right now, because there is something coming through with this Pegasus connection that's making airports untrustworthy at this time. And so flight, like I said, aviation has a lot to do with Pegasus, the Pegasus wings, as they gave humanity this flight technology. So they're triggering something that's going on within flight patterns, flight tickets, flight sales, all of these things. It's interconnected with Pegasus energy right now. Okay guys, so here's the cards for Pegasus Starseed, and you can see right away that we actually got some pretty, I feel like, very reflective cards in terms of current events, in terms of what's actually playing out within the collective. We have the Justice card and then also the Judgment card. That would be very much expected to come through. Also the Sun, being that culmination of that bright accelerative force of the Sun, the healing energy of that matrimonial energy with the earth, all of the, alpha energies. I'm getting alpha is what I'm seeing here. So there's this alpha rising within the horse symbology. There's this alpha coming to, as we do have this inner collective rising within the Centaurian collective field, also with Hydra, or also with Pegasus merging with that encryption, also supporting that encryption. So there is this rising up for injustices. There is this balancing of the scales that is taking place. This is where there is a lot of the ancient Exodus laws that are coming up again through the Pegasus encryption here, where there's this eye for an eye or a tooth for a tooth mentality that seems to be flowing through this collective. There's not a lot of remorse. There's more of like, well, you kind of had your chance, and now this is where it is. And so people are feeling really okay with this shift here. They're feeling really okay with this intensity that's jumped up just a little bit, that there has been a lot of acceptance of the new normal, unfortunately. And so these are just a lot of the realizations that are playing out through the Pegasus mind, is this constant process of accepting the balancing of the scales that's playing out. And so there's a lot of bravery and a lot of wisdom that's being accessed right now within this collective. There's a lot of understanding the highest levels of consciousness. The Pegasus, what I'm seeing is it is definitely beyond human perspective. Pegasus comes from a very cosmic perspective, that they can pull themselves out to view the earth. They can view things from a cosmic mind, and therefore they can see the promises of new beginnings, and they can have this magical way of balancing out injustices while simultaneously holding the hope of the new future. This is very much within their connection to Andromeda, in the sense that Andromeda also holds that hope of the new future, as they do hold the seeds of the new humanity, of the new future race, of the aquatic collective. Pegasus would also be very tied to the aquatic collective, the aquafarians. You may be receiving transmissions from these radial light sources and ultra terrestrials that would be assisting Pegasus, because every encryption is assisting another encryption. Every star system is in coalition with another star system. And so, as I was saying before, it's that inner network of intelligences that you're computing with. And so, like I said, there's just a lot of cosmic wisdom coming through, and there's a lot of cycles starting to come to an end. But they are not complete cycles. These are miniature cycles that are coming to an end. They are like daily cycles, as opposed to greater like monthly or collective moon cycles and things like that. But smaller cycles are coming to an end. There's definitely been some redirectivity in terms of your connection with Saturn, almost as if there's been a parental collapse where the parental self has come in and kind of taken control of things. There's been a little bit of some competitive energy and some conflict and some power struggles within your relationships, delays, annoyances, more arguments. There's just a lot of things that you're kind of really sick of at this time. You're trying to kind of get past this inner jargon of all of these things that are irrelative to the greater lesson that you are aware of. And so it's more or less like you're trying to gain alpha position. So all of these quarrels or annoyances are because you are seeking that alpha position. And this is really in alignment with just the overall Pegasus encryption, working with the Alpha Centaurians, that this alpha rise is generating through this quantum part of your field. Things are a little turned awkward right now, though. You are leaving a trail of smoke wherever you go. You are leaving a taste in people's mouth everywhere you go. You are leaving that little, I guess, recognition that someone thinks, like what was up with that? You're going around and you're sparking new seeds of consciousness everywhere you go. So you're kind of flipping a lot of people's reality upside down. You've been the catalyst to this for people for some time. And this is only going to kind of continue to increase because your realism, your rawness right now is really being felt. It's really coming through for others to get your seriousness. Not that you're not this, like, not a fun-loving, warm-hearted individual, all of these things, but you are very serious about some things right now. And those are the current state of the world, your spiritual development, your longevity in the relationships that you care about. All of these things are kind of prioritizing themselves inside of your mind, and it's a very thorough priority list. And so you have this visibility to see where other people stand in terms of your communication with them. And if you're identifying one as asleep in some way, or unawakened or unaware in some way, you're not afraid to basically, do whatever you got to do to kind of jolt a perception or a concept awake in somebody's mind. So yeah, you have been the catalyst of a lot of this for some people more recently. You are working with grounding more of your own energy, so you can try to be more down to earth, as you do realize that the way that information is delivered is sometimes can be your enemy if you're not delivering it in a way that you can have understanding and connection with other people. So you are kind of struggling with some of that. You are needing more patience to get through some of these time periods. There's a lot of judgment. So not that you're judging, but that the collective judgment, you can identify with it. You can see why justice is being called to certain things. You can see why your encryption is being called to support revolutions at this time. You feel very called to move forward in the ways that you can assist and help. You have been, like I said, a mentor and a guide for many who are looking just for a perspective. There's a lot of people who are they don't know how to think on their own yet. And so they see you as a role model. And so, like, I keep saying that keeps coming through. But it's about rebirth. It's about atonement. It's about absolution. This is about moving forward. So you've been having to make some tough decisions. You've been having to make some judgment calls. You've kind of been having to wipe the slate and start fresh. You've also been going through a dark night of the soul. And so even though all these things are happening, your emotional body does sometimes take a priority again, where you have to kind of restabilize yourself, which you do bounce back quickly. Pegasus bounces back extremely quickly. but you are following the wave patterns of ascension, and so that does tend to take a toll on you spiritually and emotionally and mentally. You are seeking some vindication. You are seeking some validation for a lot of the hard energy that you've been putting forth in terms of being supportive, being a mentor, helping others, being this basically this shining symbolism of strength. You are doing a lot of time traveling. I see you time traveling a lot. I see you accessing different portions of time frames and the grail extension where you're revisiting and you're reacclimating with more absorption of your identity, who you are amongst time. There's this deep, Scotland connection that's coming through. Some of you may feeling very close to the monarchy at this time. You might be feeling that you're needing to get in and research more about where your own family heritage and line comes from. There's this calling to really understand this deeper within yourself. A lot of us are searching for the leader within, and so this does come up during times of civil unrest and war. And I also wanted to say that I have been seeing a lot of nuclear symbolisms as well, so I might get in that in another video where I talk about what I'm seeing. But it's really hard to talk about these things during this time because you don't want to propagate these reality fields, but you also see them playing out. So I think it's better to express what you're seeing and kind of go with that in terms of just thinking that you're seeing it and then writing it off, because no, there's a lot that's coming up in terms of Babylon and Iraq and the fall of the Tower of Babel. These time waves are merging, and we have a president in the United States who is very careless when it comes to their nuclear affairs. And so I do feel that Pegasus is trying to stop some unforeseen things that are happening. Another reason for maybe some of this pent up irritability and annoyance is that you've just been trying to emerge as a hero in a lot of ways, stop things that you've seen that are coming from the past, seeing things that you have prophetically seen or visions that you've had. You've been getting a lot of the truth that's constantly being shown to you before it plays out, before it's happening. So there's some frustration. There's also some fear because you're tired of seeing these things get played out. So there's definitely just some conflicts within the personal relationships. You're wanting to really kind of be alone right now. You're wanting to kind of get away from the people that represent the old you, represent the old life of you. You don't see yourself that way, and there are specific people in your reality right now that are holding these things against you, pinning these things against you. And so you're trying to basically, move on from those that are unified and committed to trauma bonding. There's a lot of trauma bonding that happened in your past. You don't really see the importance of trauma bonding anymore. So you're ready to kind of move on and do your own thing. You really want to be straightforward. You're tired of beating around the bush. The only way you feel to move forward at this time is to be straightforward, be committed to justice, be committed to independence, be loyal and supportive to those that you feel are moving forward in terms of what's right within your own identity or within your own idealisms of what is right within the world. You want to be around like-minded people, and you're just, you have a lot of heightened plasma within your body right now. So your ascension symptoms are very heightened right now, and you're having to work through a lot internally, emotionally, physically, but you're very strong. You're very solid. Your mental capacity is on point. And like I said, your mind is very global right now. So you have a very global perception of what's going on. And because of that, that is probably the tipping point of your frustrations right now, is being able to see things come before they're happening, and not being able to sound the whistle, so to speak, not be able to sound the trumpet or sound that horn, because you feel like you should have already been sounding it. And yeah, so that's what I see for you guys for Pegasus. I hope that this reading resonates. If you're a Pegasus Starseed, I love you guys so much. You're so amazing. You can always get a reading with me, indigoangel222.com. You can find that on my website. I can pair it with an Akashic record reading. You're going to find probably some Scotland Akashic records within the Grail, possibly some Celtic, some Druid, as this is very connected to that King Arthur extension. And yeah, guys, so I love you all so much, and I will see you on the next reading. Namaste.